1, 1, 2. Check me out right here, yo.
Mike the Troop Jackson back with another edition of Fighters Talk. And today I'm joined by the 19-year-old phenom is what they're calling you right now, Mr. Sage Northcutt. Man, first of all, we're going to start. You just came off a great victory at Legacy 44 this past weekend. Tell us about that.
Well, I fought Rocky Long last Friday, actually, and I know Rocky has a lot of fights. He's had over 50 pro fights, and he started a long time ago. He's fought some tough guys, so I knew he was a tough opponent, and everything went great, just as planned, and I took his back and ended up choking him out. So.
Now, for you, you don't have a lot of actually don't have a lot of fights at all. As far as MMA goes, what was your mindset and what was going through your head knowing that you were taking on someone with 50 professional fights?
Well, I've been fighting since I was a little kid. I know it's slightly different, but traveling all around the world doing karate, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu since I was about the age of 5, and competing, that's when I started, but competing when I was about 7 or 8 years old. So I've had lots of fights myself. I know it might not be in an actual cage, but in rings and matches, I've had a lot of fights. So I knew I was just as experienced as Rocky, and everything went great.
So for you, do you still get the nerves? You know, some fighters say after so many fights, you know, they don't get that nerves, kind of that fighters get. I know I still get it myself a little bit, but for you, knowing that you've been competing in various martial arts for so long, do you still get the nerves?
Oh, absolutely. You don't, not that you're nervous, but you get the butterflies in your stomach. Like, you kind of get that pumped up feeling like right when you're about to go out there, but once the fight starts and you actually you hit the guy, you touch gloves, anything, right when you're out there in that cage, then everything's really calm.
I
so
agree.
That's what I like.
See, for me, I like when I hear the bell. Once that bell sounds, and then I was like, all right, we're good to go. After the win, it was announced in the cage that you signed to the UFC. For you, has that always been your goal once you started competing in MMA?
Absolutely, yes, sir. I've always wanted to be in the UFC, but actually be the champion in the UFC. And when I was a junior inside the karate, which I've competed since I was the age of like 6 or 7 years old, I said that I was going to be the UFC world champion and that I was going to have over 40 world titles by the time I ended my teenage year. And I got that at a low age in my teenage year, like 16 years old. So just as I expected, so that was great. Man. And then I think it was divine intervention that Dana White happened to be at the last Legacy fight.
Right.
So that just happened to work out perfect.
Now, that was the Legacy, I want to say like 42 that took place in Lake Charles.
Yeah.
And at what point did you know he was at the venue?
I didn't know actually until the fight was actually happening. Oh. And right before I was walking out there, actually, I knew, hey, Dana White was there, so I thought that was awesome. I was put a show on for him. So.
For sure. So I was in the back, and he requested select fighters to come and meet with him. What did Dana say to you in the back after all the fights were over?
Well, I thought first off, Dana was super cool. He was a cool guy, and he said that based on my picture that they put up from Legacy, that looked like that I couldn't fight, that I looked like I was just in the tanning booths all the time, and that that he was really surprised. So that was great.
Yeah, man. And you put on a show for him. You were taking on I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a quality opponent. And speaking of quality opponents, now that you're in the UFC, you've had the critics are going to be there, you know. One of the things that they're saying is that you don't have the experience. You probably haven't fought the level of competition needed to get into the UFC. What do you have to say to your critics?
Well, I think the guy I'm fighting, Frank Trevino, I think everybody that's in the UFC, first off, is experienced in that they are great because they're in the UFC. So anybody that's in the UFC is a good quality. So I think that's going to be a great fight. I'm going to put on a great show, and I'm training harder than ever. So
now the UFC, you're fighting UFC 192. That's here in Houston, October 3rd. Not too long. Does that put any kind of pressure on you that you're now in the big show and you're fighting at home?
No, I think it's not really pressure. I think it's actually really cool because you have all of your friends and your family and everybody that can come out and support it, because how often does the UFC come to Houston? So that's going to be awesome. There'll be lots of people, and I just want to put on a show for everybody and make everybody have a good time.
Now, you're taking on Frank Trevino. He's a former Legacy fighter, just as yourself now. This is his third fight in the UFC. What do you know about your opponent, and where do you feel that you're better?
Well, I know that people say he has a tough chin and that he has great cardio, but I don't know too much about him. I know he's tough chin and great cardio, but I feel like I'm gonna be prepared in every aspect there is. I'm not specifically training. I'm specifically trained just to make myself better in every aspect. So everything all around, everything completely.
Now we have some guys that they train for specific fighters, like yourself. You just said, yeah, you're training to make yourself a better fighter. But do you ever go into a fight with a game plan, or are you just there to do what Sage Northcutt does?
Well, I'm always trying to make myself the best as possible and see what's given to me out there, because people don't always fight the exact same as what you might see. But no, actually, I've never had any training camps throughout any of my fights. And I don't have a training camp right now, but I am trained to make myself better all around. So I'm not specifically training just for one guy, but just to make my whole level and quality go up. So.
Now, you mentioned that you don't have, or you've never had any training camps for fights. Do you feel that that's going to be something that you need to do, or maybe change up your training now that you're in the UFC?
Yes, well, I would think so, because everybody's a greater, higher quality. And sure, I might get to spar some and get to train different aspects, different people. But I think it'll be great.
There you go. You've heard it from here. Sage Northcutt himself. Catch him live. Do you know where you're going to fall on the card?
No, I'm not sure yet. I know it's in the prelims, but I'm not sure yet.
All right, well, it doesn't matter. You can find it on either Fight Pass or on Fox Sports, wherever they're showing the undercard. Make sure you look for Sage Northcutt. 19 years old. He's a, what do they call it? What are the headlines? The headlines got all kinds of good stuff, and phenoms and all kinds of good stuff. But make sure you check out Sage Northcutt at UFC 192. It's going to be here in Houston, Texas, October 3rd. Sage, good luck in your debut.
Thanks, mate.